Okay, you guys, this is number 107, Le Grande Odalesque. It's one of the first of the Romanticism paintings that we're going to study, and it is painted by Jean-Auguste Dominique Ong from 1814. It is oil on canvas, and it is currently in the Louvre. The artist's last name is pronounced Ong, like O-N-G. He was Jacques Louis David's student, and he is going to become a very famous artist of his time. He definitely offers a variant on the typical romantic paintings because he often combines precise drawings with classical compositions and an interest in creating erotically charged images that appeal to the viewer's emotions. He does paintings of female nudes as Orient fantasies. Orient simply means east for their purposes. You could see at the bottom there are portraits below the La Grande Odalesque. That kind of gives you the idea of what he painted for other nudes during this period. It reflects the fascination that Europe has with the exoticism of the Orient. And the reason why they are influenced by it is because during Napoleon's campaigns against the British, they fought in North Africa. Remember, the British troops were the ones that were like firing cannon guns at the Sphinx, at the Great Pyramids. And the French will discover, these different exotic objects in the Near East. The painting was commissioned by Napoleon's sister, who was Queen of Naples at the time. Her name was Caroline Murat. This painting never got to Caroline as she was deposed before it was done, but it was exhibited at the Salon of 1819. It wasn't that well received, and it has to do with the fact that the critics didn't understand Ong's evolving style. If you look on the right, he kind of painted in the traditional style of Jacques Louis David, who was his teacher, and they were see, this one actually shows some influence of Italian mannerism. The mannerism comes in through the elongated back. If you look at her back, if you start here at the top, I mean, she definitely has at least 3 or 4 more vertebrates than an average woman would have. Her leg placement is a little bit odd. I mean, look at the foot here, and the foot here is a little bit different. And then her arm is very, very long compared to the one that she's leaning on. And so that is definitely Mannerist in style that we saw in some of the pieces from the Italian Mannerist period. And then it is not a traditional frontal nude. This is a different view, which I think is why they chose it. A traditional nude is supposed to be like the Venus of Urbino, and it has some similarities to the traditional nude, female nude. For one, the gaze is seductive, and then although these colors are different than what was used with the Venus of Urbino, they still are very rich, and they contrast with the color tones of the body. Ong never traveled outside of Italy, so his idea of what the exotic arts from the East were purely imagined. And so the upper middle class European men were particularly attracted to the institution of a harem, partly as a reaction to the egalitarianism or equal demands for women that had been unleashed by the French Revolution. So Ong is known for painting numerous versions of an odalisque, or an exoticized version of a female slave or harem concubine. Although he had never been to the Orient, he is imagining what it was like. And here the concubine's gaze is directed towards her master while she twists her reclined body in a snake-like position without any anatomical accuracy. The colors really set off the piece. The rich blues that we see are gorgeous. It's a gorgeous blue that he's using. The curtain is darker with a pattern, while the bed that she's reclining on is a little bit of a lighter blue, and it really sets off her skin tone and then the crumpled sheets, and then the deep yellow of on the bottom left of the piece really sets off her the effect of her skin and the contours of her body. So the exotic setting with precise details are also included that will give us an idea that this is supposed to be from the ancient Near East. And that would be like the peacock fan that she's holding in her left hand. And then also she has a turban that she's wearing on her head. And that was very common for concubines to have that turban on their head. And so that's actually very realistic, although he hadn't seen it worn in person. There's also a hookah and an incense burner that are also included in this painting. The painting is a reflection of the fascination Europeans had with the Orient, and the topic is considered an acceptable art piece despite her being nude because it is seen as being wrapped in the idea of exoticism that is heavily influenced by not just Italian mannerism, but even possibly by Persian illuminated manuscript paintings in regards to the details. Past nudes had been veiled in classicism, meaning like the Venus of Urbino, it was okay because they called her a Venus. But this one, because it's from a far distance geographically, it's okay for the viewer to see. At least that's how they justified it to themselves. Some people argue that his paintings are tied to French imperialism, in which case this would serve as a justification for civilizing people because harems were not seen as the norm in European society. So here's the Grande Odalesque, and I saw it this last June when we were in Paris. It is hanging in the Louvre, and that is the group of kids that went with me to see it, and it really is quite striking. I really like how they put it on like a red wall because it really does set off the blues and the color of her skin tone. So, all right, La Grande Odalesque, done.